Hey guys, let's get more news about Lakers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Can JJ Redick finally convince the Lakers to shoot more threes? As the rest of the NBA continues to inch further out on offense, the Lakers remain one of the few teams still pushing inward. Last season, Los Angeles had the second highest shot frequency percentage, 36%, at the rim in the league. A statistical marker that has become the bludgeoning trademark of the LeBron James and Anthony Davis era. Since the star duo linked up in 2019, the Lakers have never ranked lower than 6th in the number of shots generated within 4 feet. Given the individual and combined strengths of James and Davis, alongside the value that attempts at the rim still carry, the strategy makes sense. However, the scales may have moved too far in one direction. A direct result of the team's paint-heavy approach has been their inability to keep up with the rest of the league's perimeter shift. Whether due to roster construction or game plan, the Lakers have yet to finish outside the bottom 10 in three-point shot frequency during James and Davis's tenures. Last season, they arguably hit rock bottom as they finished with the second lowest rate in the league, despite posting arguably their best three-point shooting season in franchise history. The team's continued aversion to the deep ball is not so much a faux pas within the current basketball landscape, but an Achilles heel that has put a mathematical ceiling on their championship outlook. Even the most ornery skeptics of analytics have to admit there is a correlation between the three and offensive success. This past season, the Boston Celtics exemplified this as they shot their way to a championship. Beyond just Boston, who attempted more threes than any other team in the NBA last year, the postseason also highlighted the impact spacing still has for several clubs, including the Dallas Mavericks, who attempted the second most threes. In an article back in June, Tom Haberstroh pointed out that teams that won the made three-point column went 60-17 this postseason. That's the highest mark since the NBA moved the three-point line back in 1998. The Celtics, specifically, went 15-0 in such games. This is not to say the Lakers should abandon bullying teams in the paint, but rather, strike a careful balance of modernizing their profile. An aim that is likely at the top of mind for the team's new head coach, JJ Redick. Redick, a prolific shooter in his own right, has already been vocal about what he envisions for the Lakers' offense and the role that three-pointers will play. Beyond signaling he will use math, Redick has also name-dropped which individual players he wants to let it fly more often and the type of system he wants to install. Lakers star LeBron James' honest take on his legacy in 100 years. From time to time, I do think about how do I want to be remembered, and I hope that it's not just the game of basketball, James said. I feel like if it's just the game of basketball, that people, talk about me in the sense of I think I've kind of failed my mission. So, the things that I do in my community, the way myself and Savannah raised our kids, my relationship with my single-parent mother, my friendship with my guys, being able to help people from my hometown. James has used his platform to speak out against racial injustice, open schools in Akron, Ohio, and mentor athletes. The four-time champion intends to keep doing those things after he's done hooping. If those conversations don't hit the barbershop, if they don't hit forums or whatever the case may be, then I feel like my mission wasn't completed, James continued. And I'm not done, I'm old as F***ck in basketball terms, but I'm super young in life. Has James done a good job using his platform to make the world a better place? LeBron James must keep using his platform on the Lakers. James has used his voice to make a difference, but he's not a true activist, via ESPN's Howard Bryant. When he chooses to lend his name and resources to a given cause, voter registration, for example, his presence can produce tremendous results, Bryant said. When he chooses not to, or waits to speak, as he did after 12-year-old Tamir Rice was killed by Cleveland police in November 2014 and he initially said nothing, the activists continued the work of protest without him. In 2019, when the NBA was caught in the middle of protests against the Chinese government by activists in Hong Kong during the league's exhibition tour of China, James was not an activist. He was a businessman. As a professional athlete, activism isn't James' primary responsibility. It's understandable for a top athlete to prioritize his craft and business instead of world issues. However, when James refused to side with the pro-democracy Hong Kong protesters, it showed that he was unlikely to sacrifice a business opportunity in favor of a social cause. The NBA's expansion into the region presented a chance for the former Cleveland Cavalier to grow his brand. At the same time, that's only one speed bump amid a sea of good that James has done. As the King admitted, though, he needs to keep speaking out on issues to be remembered in the way he desires. Lakers legend warns team from trying to pry Luka Doncic away from Mavericks. Luka Doncic has established himself as one of the top players in the NBA. In just his sixth season, Doncic led the Dallas Mavericks back to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2011, led the NBA in scoring, and was third in MVP voting in 2024. However, despite being a well-known and talented NBA player, not everyone has enjoyed watching his play. From being a well-known trash talker and heavily whining to referees, Doncic has taken a lot of criticism since he's been in the NBA. A lot of former players, media members, and others will have a hard, honest opinion to say about Doncic, and recently another former player had something to say about Doncic. Robert Horry warns Lakers from going after Luka Doncic. Los Angeles Lakers legend Robert Horry was on his own Big Shot Bob podcast, and talked about his beloved Lakers and addressing the issues the Lakers had, which was defense. Rob Jenners mentioned the possibility of Doncic joining the Lakers when Doncic could become a free agent in 2026. But, Horry had negative comments toward Doncic. Doncic ain't the best defensive player now, and that's the Lakers' problem, Horry said. You know, you got to have some athletic guys that can play some defense. Despite averaging 1.4 steals and 0.5 blocked shots per game over the past 2 seasons, Doncic's defense was quickly criticized during the 2024 NBA playoffs. As much as scoring is important in the NBA, defense is just as important. Many elite players in the NBA, from Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, Victor Wembanyama, and even LeBron James, at times have the ability to play great defense to go with their scoring. Doncic also caught some criticism from Horry when he was seen drinking beer with his father Sasa after the Mavs won the Western Conference against the Timberwolves. Mavericks Vice President of Basketball Operations Michael Finley snatched the beer out of Doncic's hand. "We also know you got to take beers out of his hands, 'cause he doin' staying in shape," Horry said. "He gonna be good, but he ain't gonna be what you need probably." Doncic has been a heavily criticized player for most of his career, but 2024 has been the most Doncic has ever been criticized. Having Doncic criticized this much could be a good thing, though, for him to come back and silence all the critics. With Doncic coming off a finals loss and being heavily criticized this year, it might add more fuel to the fire. Doncic will be in the running for the MVP and be a reason why the Mavs should be an NBA Finals pick. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Luka Doncic? Leave your opinion in the comments.